My name is Doreen Adera. I am a lab technician at the Gulu University Multifunctional Laboratory. I am also the safety officer in this facility. I work closely with a good large team, and together we do research, we do diagnosis, and also we train students who come for placement in the laboratory. And I have the responsibility of making sure that we work in a safe environment here at the laboratory. So today I'll be introducing laboratory safety to you. I'll be taking you through what it means to be safe, what biosafety is, what the different levels of biosafety are, and also I'll go into details of the requirements of the different laboratories at those specific levels. So, safety is a state of being protected from something that in this case we can consider as a hazard that would potentially cause harm to you as a person. It is also something that is unlikely to cause damage, injury, or a risk to a person, or a community, or an environment. Safety can be divided into general safety or biosafety. General safety is a protection from hazards such as fires, cuts, falling down, or any other injury not related to biological or chemical substances. Then biosafety covers safe handling and containment of biological organisms such as COVID-19 virus, which we are currently dealing with in this pandemic. Then also Ebola that has been reported previously around the world. So other chemical organisms and carcinogenic organisms or corrosive material can also cause harm to individuals and environment as large. So there are 4 biosafety levels that have been categorized by the World Health Organization. These levels are according to potential risk associated with them. That is to say, infectivity of the pathogen, for example, being studied at that lab level, or the severity of the disease that pathogen, for example, causes. Then transmittability, how easy is it for this organism to be transmitted from person to person. Then the nature of work that is also conducted at the facility. For example, some labs will just end up diagnosing an organism. Others will go ahead to culture and grow these organisms, basing from bacteria, viruses, fungi, depending on really what you're studying. So at biosafety level 1, this is at the bottom of the pyramid. And if you look at a pyramid shape, the bottom is wider and has more numbers compared to the top of the pyramid that is usually pointed and having a few. So biosafety level 1 is at the bottom of the pyramid. That means there are many of the biosafety level 1 compared to those laboratories at biosafety level 4. So at the biosafety level 1, they deal with organisms with low risk. Yes, they are not known to cause harm or disease commonly when exposed to them, for example. For example, E. coli, the non-pathogenic strain that are used in different research. These E. coli don't usually cause disease to the people who are exposed to it. The lab practices at this biosafety level 1 are standard microbiological practices, and here we work on a bench which is just separated from the rest of the facility by a door. So there is no other extensive facility structure apart from a room, a bench, a sink and a door separating that area from the rest of the facility. This brings us to biosafety level 2, which deals with organisms that pose moderate risk to the person who could be exposed to them. We have an example of, for example, Staphylococcus aureus. This organism has been known to cause various infections ranging from skin infections to urine infections to GIT infections. Those are gastrointestinal tract infections. The lab practices that are associated with this biosafety level 2 are that there is restricted access to that area where these organisms are being dealt with. Not anyone can just walk into that area or into that laboratory. And then the safety equipment that are used in that laboratory level are the personal protective equipment such as gloves on the hands to protect the hands, then the lab coat that protects whatever you're wearing and also your body. Then there are other equipment such as autoclaves that are used to sterilize whatever has been used on these organisms in case they are to be reused to prevent transmission of these organisms. The facility here has self-closing doors and also eye wash stations in case of exposure. These eye wash stations can be used to flush out the organism from your eyes in case you had a splash into the eyes. That is basically the biosafety level 2 level. So at biosafety level 3, we deal with organisms that potentially are lethal on exposure, such as respiratory infections. An example being Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which causes TB, as we know. The lab practices at this level are that the medical personnel or the lab technicians working there are usually under surveillance to monitor their status in case they get infected, so that if this is known early, they can be treated or assisted. Most of the personnel working in such a laboratory also are required to be vaccinated against whatever organism that they are working with. That is in case there is a vaccine for that. Then the personal protective equipment are the same as those of biosafety level 2 and 1, but on top of that, the biosafety cabinets used here are biosafety cabinet level 3s, not 2 as for those used in biosafety level 2. Then here also we use respirators that filter whatever air we are breathing in, because you don't know what potential organism is flying around in your environment. Here, an example of the respirator is the N95 that protects you from inhaling any potentially hazardous microorganism. Also, circulation of air is restricted in such a facility, and then there is a controlled airflow from one area to another, and also the exhaust air from such a facility is not recirculated because they assume it is potentially contaminated. Then also the entrance to the facility or this laboratory of level 3 is double, where you can enter from this side and also get out through another side. Yes, and note that you enter and come out through the same entrance. From there, we'll go to biosafety level 4, which are very few around the world. These biosafety level 4 laboratories are usually in isolated areas like islands or places where there are no people staying in the vicinity or in the community or in the environment of the laboratory, because the organisms handled at such a level are very, very fatal and almost high 100% fatality rate on exposure. Many of them don't have treatment or even vaccines against them. Examples being handled at this level, for example, are Marburg and Ebola. These are hemorrhagic fever causing organisms. The lab practices here are more strict compared to the level 1, 2, and 3. Here, the clothes that you come in with into the facility are changed before moving. Like when you enter the laboratory, before entering the laboratory, you have to change clothes. Then before getting out, you also have to change clothes. Yes? And then the decontamination process is also in that you have to bathe before you leave the facility because there are showers at the exit. Then the personal protective equipment on top of those that we have already talked about, the lab coats, the gloves, the biosafety level 3 cabinets for working. On top of the safety equipment that we have already talked about, the personal protective equipment, the biosafety level 3, here you also have to wear a full body supplied positive pressure suit. This means that whatever is the air that is circulating in that suit does not come out, and whatever is out does not get into that suit, meaning you will be having your own oxygen tank for breathing. This brings us to the end of our short talk on biosafety and the different biosafety levels. We have to make sure that we meet the requirements of the laboratory that we are working in. If it is a biosafety level 2, we have to meet the requirements of a biosafety level 2 to be able to protect not just us, but our community and environment at large. Thank you very much.
Audio Jungle.